I did get a testimonial out of one of my other clients there. I'm pretty happy about. She put it on LinkedIn.
Okay, I think we are live here. Um, Folks, welcome to Quantum Leap. Uh, did you see the clearance come through there, Corey?
I do.
The, the broadcast? Okay. Um, my name's David, and this is my co-host Cory and I. And we do a show here, which is actually our last episode for a bit. We take kind of a long spring summer break, so to speak. But we do business development issues, and I know we're in our fifth year. We might even be in our sixth year now. But we wanted to today return to some of our bread and butter issues, which is really marketing and things that go with that, which is a lot of stuff. But we're going to get to that piece. But first, I wanted to introduce my co host, Corey Knott, and thank you for being here, Corey, on this last episode. We made it through, almost 6 years here. So.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me. I know it's been going on for quite a while. I am Cory Knott, and I am a coach for business partnerships. What does that mean? I work on the relationship part of the business. Sometimes I say it's like being a marriage counselor, but for business owners, right? It's same as a marriage, but without the romance and all the same pressures and stress.
Yeah, and I know when we first started this show, we did it really to it's called Quantum Leap. It's about making a quantum leap in your business, and it was actually around the time that I first got started in video. I was trying to find my way, and I really saw video production as a way to make that quantum leap in your business. But then I saw that there's really so many other things when you get into video that go along with making that quantum leap. Like one, you have to have the capacity, to deliver that amount of service. Say you do all the sales, it's one thing if you have life insurance policy, you can probably write, hire administrative help, but there are real bottlenecks for a lot of people. So I first want to just kind of get back to the basics about people who are looking in the I think summer is a great time to kind of rethink about your marketing and get, say kind of do some marching orders. I know you and Gail have us look at it quarterly, which okay, this quarter I'm going to really get my marketing ready to go. So in the fall when people return from summer break, I know we're talking a little bit ways out that I've kind of a brand new program to run to ultimately generate more business. That's what the show's for. I'd say it's not unreasonable to expect 20 or 30% increase in revenues, even from just doing a modest change in your marketing. You get one big new client for a lot of people that could really change your whole
Sure.
perspective. But I really see that changes the energy, just having some results is really uplifting. But what would you say are some things? I know you and Gail have a lot of kind of masterminds and things on marketing about how to kind of really what are some key considerations to get started in stepping up your marketing.
Yeah, Gail's more of the marketing person, but than I am. But this year I created my new partnership operating system, or at least working that out and creating a, a package around the mind sonar assessment. So my thinking was, how do I step away from the idea of it being a coaching product and more into this is a tool for figuring out the dynamics of the relationship in a it's still kind of trying to find the right words, but as I said, it's like an operating system, right? How do we interface with each other, being who we are and remaining who we are? And so that's been kind of the gist of what I'm looking to market, is creating a package that I can then, stamp out and sell. And so it really does come down to, figuring out where you want to market that and finding your audience. I think that's probably one of the hardest things to do. We we often look, like, is it going to be like, if we're going to do social media, is it going to be on LinkedIn? Is it going to be Facebook, Instagram, any one of these other channels? Because you've got to find where people are when they want your product, right? Or your service. And just because we think they're in one place doesn't mean that's where they are. And um, yeah, so that's I think one of the things is, figuring out the audience and their pain points. What are they going to respond to? What are they saying is the problem? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's
This is an important layer
challenge.
of the onion that I think you and Gail are great at, and really, you know, that target audience that determines like how you construct your marketing, how you're talking to them. So it's kind of like this layer of the onion where I say that internal work that you teach, you actually probably want to write out your target market. Is it, you
Hmm.
know, like 30 to 50 people, that's what I say with video. It's often um, people who are age 30 to 50. I find that kind of be,
Right.
but there's no real age gap. I've actually increased that. I think some of the best people are even older. Looking at Smiley and
Hmm.
60s, even 70s can be
Sure.
extraordinary on video. But I
Yeah.
kind of started with that because they have that like authority to them.
Yeah.
So who, and then also the room full of referrals kind of helped with this about okay, mostly go-getters and promoters kind
Right.
of are more so what personality types kind of resonate with. So and then you don't actually have to talk to everyone. If there's people say that about movies or marketing that, not everybody might like, the fast-paced energy type of segment that I do, which
Hmm.
I also do kind of a slower pace segment too, but you can put them both out so the what you put out connects with that energy that it has. I think of it, a lot of it I think is energy too. What kind of energy are you looking for? Who are you looking to
Yeah.
work for in energy? And I think that's why we connect so well is that we both have that kind of like laid back, contemplative, very substance oriented. Those are the people I gravitate to on on video, and I think with your packages. But so I think it can help out to write out some of this stuff. But I think the goals are key. You really want to think about everything in your head, like what do you want this final build out to look like.
Right.
So if you're ready, if people are knocking down your door, I know so Mike says that where you want them doing that in the right season. When's it going to roll out? Who do you want contacting you? How do you want that to look like? But how do you kind of, I know you really specialize in helping people set those goals, but how should people think of their marketing goals and what should they maybe look like, or could
Well,
they?
I think as you said, it's going to be a certain amount of time out, right? Typically, if and unless you're already an established business, and I'd say service professionals may have it, easier in this sense, but um, you're looking at oftentimes several months out. Like if I'm starting this package marketing right now, I have to think about, how many months is it going to take before people really start responding? And that could be about 3 or 4 months, right? It's to get through the algorithms and, reach people's boxes and get them thinking about it. There's a sales cycle. How long does it usually take people to decide? You have video, that it takes people a while to decide that they want to do it and then to actually pull the trigger. So you're marketing to them, but they're not making the decision immediately typically. If you're marketing to go-getters, they're a little faster on the decision making, but still it's a matter of time when they say I'm ready, that's when they pull the trigger. Um, and to give an example, a lot of times people's business, and especially in certain services, fall off around August. People leave town, there's a lot of things going on. So I often would tell people it's like if you want to do something in August that brings in business like retreats or something like that, start your marketing early in the year. If you try to do it last minute or you're trying to make up for the lack of customers in August, at the last minute, you're just not going to get it. You might as well just take the month off, or expect that your revenues are going to drop, because people aren't responding then, and and you may even change who you're targeting for that season because families typically go away. This is the best time to be marketing to people who are single or maybe they're professionals doing a lot of work and they're not traveling during August, but they want to do something a little more for themselves. Yeah, it all varies on what it is that you're offering, of course.
Yeah, and I do think it also kind of has this cascading effect where people
Mhm.
might want to just start with their website is one
Right,
thing, but then they realize there's a whole other host of things that need to be done to make that website effective. For example, then you need video, then you need a headshot, then you need
right.
better graphic design, then maybe you need to change up your message, so to speak. So um
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you want to avoid any kind of bait and switch, which is, offering something at such a low price that attracts people in, but then you upsell them. People get leery of that. And it's good to have an introductory package like I'm doing with this partnership operating system. We've got an introductory package. Should be relatively easy to pull. It's a higher cost than maybe your 30-year-olds want to spend, but people who are, married or, they have substantial investment in this new business. It's not a high price for them, and it's not a high time commitment. And then from there, there is opportunities to do more work with me, but it's not required. We may discover all we need to in that short space of time. So it's good to have a product that people can kind of easily say yes to, rather than trying to market something big unless they already know you. So if you're doing a retreat for 3 weeks, it's probably going to be to your existing audience. And if you're if you're just trying to reach a new audience, then start with something small.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do have a chapter in Solopreneur that I large part got from you in our discussions, which these packages that you offer are so important. I think, this guy Donald Miller, pardon me, he's so great at
Right,
he has that book on coaching, all these little ideas about, the 1 hour consultation, kind of
right.
like buy 1 hour with me and see what value you get on coaching or whatever on marketing. And then, you'll likely come back, or
Yep,
maybe it's just a free 20-minute consult that you offer and you kind of steer them towards just the next up package. Cause, really anything over a few $100s or $500 even is going to take kind of like multiple conversations, especially for those
right.
examiner types, unless you kind of really kind of thread the needle well with one of those go-getters who's sitting on a lot of cash that they're trying to get out the door before the year end or something. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think with the examiner types, what I'm learning and actually even the go-getters like it too, but you've got to kind of structure it so that the people get what they want from it. Case studies are really good. And, just finding the place to put it. And, for at least for work, we haven't talked about this much, but I have realized over the years that, and I like to create new things. And the problem with creating new things is people don't know about it, right? I was asked today is like, how do you get business? And because the challenge for me is there's really very, very few people who are doing what I'm doing. I know they exist out there, and most of them don't do a lot of marketing. Um, and so the challenge is to say, if nobody's heard of what you do, then you have to overcome a mountain of just even getting that idea out there. And when we were doing referral marketing training with Incentive, it's like we didn't have anybody who really understood what that was. And so it's a much longer process just to even get to understand and then to build a brand around it. Whereas if you're in a coaching system like, Marshall or Focal Point or one of these other places, people kind of know the brand, they understand what it is that you're going to provide. There's still a lot of selling to be done, but you have a big, well-known brand behind you with the testimonials and all that behind you. I mean, it's I can't think of his name. Who's the big guy who does a lot of the stage coaching? He's got his whole brand set up there, and they go out and market for him and all that.
oh, Tony Robbins or
Thank you, Tony Robbins. Yeah, yeah, it's popping up in the AI world a lot now. And so what am I trying to say? So I think that a lot of times you have to think about too, is what is it that you're marketing? Is it something that people know that they want and need, or is it something that they don't know that they want and need? So if you're one of those kind of healers in a niche, you have, a lot of work ahead of you. If you're doing videography, it's probably a little easier because a lot of people know that videography is important, right? But even then, it's still a relatively new thing. What is it, 6 years, social media. So people who haven't been around small business a lot may not know that they need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did want to revisit, just bring up this concept from Quantum Leap that we often know how to do it, but we haven't kind of taken action for some reason. But
Right.
you also bring up a great point that if you have something that's brand new that's never been done, you almost want to make it relate to something that else is out there in the market, but maybe it's your own twist. Apple always had a great way to do that where you're kind of, you know, somebody else already came up with the idea, but you perfect it, and say
Right.
why you should get it from me. And I think a lot of my ideas, for example, just a little preview what's coming, with these, some of the visualization and this quantum leap tactics. I'm going to actually apply that to fitness, through a ripple effect workbook and kind of guides. So, it's a little bit more abstract and using it for business, which we see it in these books, but it's something down to earth that it's really a new take on kind of fitness and getting in shape, bringing mindset to that. So I look
Right.
forward to kind of getting your feedback on that as it comes out, but probably
Cool.
won't be until early 2026. But it's something I've been working on that will, with Erica and kicking around. So, um, but sorry to get off on a little tangent here. I do like this discussion. Let's just check in about a marketing plan, like what you like to see in a marketing plan and why that might make sense for somebody. I'd say timeline too, and I
Yeah.
I I I like a simple is better because I find so much of this stuff is so overwhelming. I do this stuff for a living. I've done it for, 20 years more or less. So I can kind of just come up with the marketing plan at lunch, say it's like a new campaign, you have a new package. Okay, we're gonna launch it here, and then back up from the launch date. What do I got to do? I got to create the stuff that we're going to launch. We're going to do a certain amount of outreach. I think it's also great to have a little mastermind, just tell people about it like yourself to get their input on like the new product, what they might consider because they'll bring up things that you hadn't even thought of that are going to could dramatically change how you pitch that idea.
Yeah, yeah. I think we have a crutch these days is you can just go to ChatGPT or whatever AI you use and ask it for a marketing plan. Say, I've got this product, I'm going to do this. This is what it's designed to do. This is who it's for, and come up with a marketing plan for me. A 6 week, 8 month, whatever term that you want, and it will actually outline an entire strategy. And but you do bring up a good point that AI wants to serve. It wants to give you very positive answers, and it doesn't necessarily question what it is you're doing, right? It's, oh, this is a great idea, and this is how you can go about doing it. It's good to have other people look at things. AI is not people, but what is great about it is that it can give you a very clear path. And then you can work with other people to say, okay, does this make sense? What would we need to tweak? Or, where would I mean, like a good example is finding your target audience. If you tell AI your target audience is in LinkedIn, it's going to agree with you and give you a plan for that. But your target audience may not be in LinkedIn. I don't know where my target market audience is really. I like LinkedIn because it's professional, but it may be that the people who are thinking about starting a business are more or less hanging out on Facebook, right, or Instagram, or somewhere else. I don't know. Um, it's a challenge. And also even referral marketing plans. Who are the people who can refer you? You've got to have a really clear picture of who your audience is and when they're making a decision. Um, so like you said, I think it really helps to have that sort of mastermind of other people. Even if they don't really know your business well, I think other business owners will have good ideas, or at
Yeah.
least you can consider their ideas, right? Good or bad, it'll give you a lot of feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. I found you want to do that really in the early stages because it
Yeah,
dramatically changes how
right.
you put that together, all the nuts and bolts and the frame and everything.
Can you explain it to a 5-year-old? If you can, then you probably are on a good start, right?
Yeah, yeah, because there's always going to be blind spots, things you haven't thought about that are big considerations. Um, here's one that I love, a question. What kind of accountability can you build in so people can keep themselves accountable? And this goes with something about if you need to hire a marketer. And I see it so much that people they want to get serious about their social media or something, and they'll do a few posts for a few weeks, or they'll do something different for a few weeks, and then maybe they don't get any bites, maybe they get a few, but you know, you're really just planting the seeds for a few months. If you're doing new marketing, you shouldn't expect to see big results like right away. You know, you might see a little progress, but I think I don't know how you would, so people just give up, you know, 95% of people just give up. But
I agree. I'm kind of falling to the same boat. I've got lots of things to do, and I I do assign things to Gail, and she takes care of stuff as she can. But she's got clients too. So I think it really helps sometimes. It's the cobbler in the shoes, right? And in this case, sometimes we don't need not just make our own shoes, but we don't even market our own shoes. It's good to have somebody who just has that um, second eye to do it. We can't. Not all people can afford to hire a marketing person, but there are various levels. You can get a VA or from overseas who will do it. You just have to tell them what to do and instruct them. And if you're not the type to really stay on top of them, that can be challenging as well. So the answer is sometimes it's just to find somebody who can get you started, or if you can do your writing, send it over to them and let them do all the posting. Um, AI is more capable of handling that now, but even that software is not necessarily cheap, right? It's you can go to ChatGPT to write, but to actually have it do the work, you're starting to pay, for that work to be done. Um, and it may not be doing it well because, again, you don't know what you don't know. So I think the marketing masterminds usually make a lot of sense. It's especially if it's somebody running, who's experienced in marketing, and you can talk to. But even with other business owners, it'll help with the accountability and ensuring that they're if they understand what you're saying, then that helps. Yeah,
yeah, you brought up a great point. I think the biggest bottleneck I see is people actually doing the post or hit and send, getting it out there in the world, because there you have to have a certain amount of confidence to get to that point, and then there's
right,
always a risk there, you know, on, you know, what if it fails? What if it doesn't get the result that you want? You know, there's always kind of nothing comes back right away, so you just have to kind of put it out there and then know that, you know, it's like a rocket course corrects its way to the moon, that, you know, you're going way up there, but you got to just keep correcting as you go. So I mean,
sure,
I actually offer to put out people's videos and marketing, because that's, I think, one of the things I'm best at, is just getting it out there. I have a kind of a system for putting stuff out there, kind of like with these podcasts. You know, you just have to get it out
right,
there, and it keeps you, I mean, the biggest value of social media too is it keeps you top of mind. Maybe somebody you talk to about your bread and butter service 6 months ago sees that and go, "Oh, I want to get in touch with that person about something else." So it really has a lot of spin-off effects that you might not even think about, that you wouldn't know about unless you actually put it out there into the world.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and sometimes you can keep doing it too. I think like you said, people do it for a few weeks, few months, but then content can be reposted. It's like I have a number of things that actually did fairly well on LinkedIn last year, and I will go through and just post them again, and because it'll be new eyes on there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've liked your AI stuff, has been great. Or I don't know if it's all AI or hybrid, but your things on LinkedIn, I thought.
Oh, I actually I was using a program for a while that just they never really updated, and now there's other things that can do it just as well. I don't use a lot of AI except to kind of structure my writing because I tend to be very verbose. So I'm like, okay, let's summarize this, let's make it shorter. But I don't like the AI style of writing right now. This sort of staccato effect, or it's not this but that, and it becomes too obvious, right? It feels like. it just feels like it's not written for humans so much as how the AI thinks humans should think. So it annoys me.
I hear you. Here's a suggestion. I just got a couple more items here, and then we'll wrap up. That you suggested really is, does it make sense to join another or maybe an initial networking organization? You know, these kind of made the biggest difference in my life. One, joining BNI to begin with, and then at your encouragement, you had me join Rotary, which was also maybe more for life than business, so to speak, in terms of the transformation. Of course, Ivan, has some great stories about Rotary, but what do you recommend here for networking organizations, or why that could be something to consider, especially if you're not part of anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, networking is a form of marketing. Um, so joining BNI, joining Rotary, you are marketing yourself. I think, BNI has an enormous benefits other than just the referrals. And even then, if you're just going in it for the referrals, you might be disappointed because you may not have a lot of clarity on your message, but you will get much more clear on, your message and how to reach people who don't do what you do, but help them understand it. We often say that people join BNI for the referrals and they stay for the education, there is the social aspect, right? It is being around other business owners. Um, but even I, over the years, at times when I was really busy and didn't have need for referrals, I stuck with BNI because it's about the relationships. Um, and being a business owner can be kind of a lonely road. But beyond that, in terms of the marketing, it really helps hone the message, and it is a form of marketing in and of itself. It's an inexpensive form of marketing, just time consuming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really the most, as solopreneurs, I always say, um, the most powerful marketing is yourself, like just how you talk about your
right.
product, how you are about it, and that is, BNI is extraordinarily helpful with that, because you're actually talking to people who ask you the right questions. They don't have they're not just going to be like, kind of walk on eggshells around you with something. You got to hear the actual real concerns about something you offer, or questions about this or that, yeah, it's hugely valuable to put it to the test, so to speak. Kind of really builds you up as a speaker or advocate for what you're selling. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found provisors to be very valuable as well. It is a different group of people, and they are trusted advisors, so they typically are not your B2C type people. There's some, um, but you have to get your message through to people who are in a maybe in a different phase of their business and their careers. So yeah, finding a networking group I think is hugely valuable, and Gail is doing less of the structured networking and more of I'd say kind of more of the passion networking. So finding the community that she really wants to work with. That's a little like Rotary. Toastmasters has been really valuable for her, and I think it's a good organization. I'd say if you're in business, find a Toastmasters that's much more business dominated than, say employees from Kaiser or something like that. Or unless those are your audience, which could actually be a good place to go. So that you can network to your audience. We used to talk about that too. It's like you can join a network of other business owners. You can join a network that has your audience in it. So then you just have to figure out what can you give so that people aren't seeing you as just somebody there to take. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's important. And a lot of people, gotta, you get in there, you don't understand that right away, but you do see it by example. If you just keep showing up, you'll see the
right.
people who do good in there are the ones who have that down. They have those key principles down, reciprocity, and you know
Yeah,
helpfulness to others. um Last question, or just some other creative ways to step up your marketing and or increase your revenues. And the one thing I'll just say, the caveat that we mentioned, is a lot of people get a book, a new book. I have a couple books I was going to recommend. This, How to Grow Your Small Business, Donald Miller, or Building a Story Brand 2.0. That's also Donald Miller. um these inspire you, but if you don't take any action, then that can be hugely difficult. So I do think if you are stuck, it makes sense to get somebody like Michelle or somebody who can just really kind of encourage you to keep taking action, because it's like that Newton's law, that it's a lot more to put it into motion than to keep it in motion. How do you stay in motion and keep
Totally.
going?
Yeah. And, when you get busier, it's the same thing too. If you're getting what you want from your marketing, then you've got to continue it, right? Because if you stop, then it slows down again. And that same thing happens in BNI too. People get really busy, they get all the business they want, and then they leave BNI and then they wonder why it drops off, right?
Yep.
Because they're no longer top of mind with the people that were referring them.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot in video too, where people do some great segments. They get some new energy and revenue coming into their business, and then they just, they don't keep doing it. But
Yeah.
well, good. Well, I don't if you and if Gail has something coming up with marketing, keep us posted. Otherwise,
Yeah.
folks can reach out to me or Cory about, I really specialize in marketing, and I actually provide a lot more than just video. It's about how to put video out at in relation to your other marketing things, and you actually need some other things in place to make video work. It's not a whole lot, but you can really do it all in a weekend or something if you're really motivated to at least get started, get out there with something, a new video, and start getting, some traction or increasing your bottom line. Then Cory can help you with the partnership stuff. You also offer kind of free set or paid sessions on goals and
Sure.
vision, which can also really help springboard your marketing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, with that, I think we'll end it there for our final segment here in April for Quantum Leap, and we look forward to returning in the fall with some more segments on some new topics and existing topics. But we want to thank you for listening to Quantum Leap here, and Cory, thanks for joining me. I'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, David. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Oh,
Oh, I didn't
I'm gonna
leave.
just end it up here. Sorry.